Hello everybody, thank you very much for joining me today for another Twilight Zone video in my Twilight Zone ranking series, where I rank every episode of the original Twilight Zone from my least favorite to my favorite. Today I'm going to be talking about number 68, Printer's Devil, written by Charles Beaumont and directed by Ralph Senensky. This is a season 4 hour-long episode, and as always, there will be spoilers. So, Printer's Devil is a fast-paced hour-long episode that I really enjoy watching. I think it's got a nice mix of drama, suspense, and even some dark comedy. I will say, though, that the ending is a little bit of a letdown, and that's what holds this episode back from being a classic and having classic status for me. But overall, I still think this is a really good and entertaining episode. As for the performances, Robert Sterling is pretty good as Douglas Winter. I actually think Patricia Crowley fares even a little bit better as his girlfriend Jackie, but Burgess Meredith once again steals the show as Mr. Smith. So this one starts with one of our main characters named Douglas Winter, and he runs a newspaper, but it seems he's about to go out of business. And he can't afford to pay his employees anymore, so it's just himself and his girlfriend named Jackie. And I have to say that Douglas has very good taste. So Douglas is distraught, and he's considering calling it quits, doing himself in, which is pretty dark, until he meets a man named Mr. Smith, who says he can help him out. He wants to run the typing machine and become a reporter for the newspaper at the same time. So I guess Mr. Smith appears to be a man of many talents, and we're already suspicious of him. Douglas also has no money, but Mr. Smith offers him a loan, so it seems like they are back in business. So with Smith on staff, the fortunes of the paper start to rise. They get a scoop on a robbery and sell a lot of papers. Then a rival paper's place catches fire, and when Douglas questions Smith about this, he basically avoids answering the question. Now, this whole time, Jackie has been very weary of this Mr. Smith, and when she tells Douglas about her concerns and wants him gone, he basically gets annoyed with her, causing tension between the couple. At this point, Mr. Smith talks himself into getting a long-term contract after he uses some interesting psychology on Douglas, but Smith continues to cause trouble, causing more accidents or bad things to happen, however you want to say it. And at this point, Douglas decides he has no choice but to get rid of Smith. So Smith retaliates and writes a story about Jackie being in an auto accident, kind of as revenge because he made a pass at her and she wasn't interested in him, in a scene that I have to say was very unsettling. And he also tells Douglas the only way to counter this is for Douglas to give up and do himself in, but Douglas refuses. So Mr. Smith tricks Jackie into driving him out of town, and I have to say this was a bit disappointing. Jackie has been a pretty smart character throughout this whole episode, and for her to get tricked like this wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but I guess you just have to go with it. And I will say, to be fair, the scene with Jackie and Mr. Smith in the car is very, very suspenseful, and I was on the edge of my seat. So in the meantime, Douglas writes a new story, and this saves Jackie, and she and Smith are run off the road, but she is unharmed, and Mr. Smith just kind of disappears. So at this point, Douglas has the machine removed, and it seems like he and Jackie are going to carry on without it, and I guess we get kind of a happy ending in the Twilight Zone. So much happens in this episode. It's really fast-paced for an hour-long episode. I think it flows really well. The dialogue is really good in places, and there are some very suspenseful scenes as well. The ending does feel like a little bit of a letdown. I mean, really, all Douglas had to do was type in a new story to change things. Couldn't he have done that much earlier in the episode? Maybe the character just didn't realize that that was all he had to do. I guess if you just kind of go with it, it's fine. But I thought maybe they could have come up with a more creative ending here. But overall, it still doesn't hurt the entertainment value of this episode, Printer's Devil, that much in my opinion. So while I don't quite think this episode is a classic, I really enjoyed it, and that's why Printer's Devil comes in at number 68. As always, feel free to leave me a comment on whether you like this episode or not. Thanks very much for your support, and thanks for watching.